Welcome to The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the show. News, views, reviews, and interviews. Let's go. Well, as I do say, there is no news that is good news. That's part of the news. No news is good news, especially when it's coming towards two films that are being in editing process or in still filming process. The filming process one is Starfighter, and the editing process is Mandalorian and Grogu. But the other news today is that it's fastly approaching the official The Force Awakens 10-year anniversary. It was in December. And that's fastly coming up. We'll be discussing in the weeks ahead probably a bit of Force Awakens activities. You may have in your particular town a re-release of The Force Awakens. I highly suggest it's a great view. And that's it. So that's the news for this time around. Let's get in with views. Views is my story ideas. Now, again, I always say this. I accept the story of Star Wars, the timeline, as it is. It is the Star Wars timeline. Whoever owns it or produces or writes it, the officiality, if that's a word I don't know, officiality, whoever's got it, then that's where the story goes. It's sort of an interesting, fun way to see where it goes. Yes, we've got to keep in within Star Wars themes, but you know what? Star Wars is a universe filled with many types of things. Anyway, so while we're on the older stuff, my story idea this time around is to do with excuse me, I'm going to take a bit of a delicious. It's to do with Mandalorian and Grogu. The title of this particular video is Star Wars Luke Skywalker Alive? ? Now, it's not going to be a real push in the door if Mark Hamill, who reprises his role as Luke Skywalker again in this particular movie that comes out in 2026. He has been in the series, Series 2, at the end of Series 2, which was a real emotional, string-pulling particular episode where Luke Skywalker comes in, saves the day, takes Grogu on his way for the time being. It was great. And I think personally, as my story idea, I would include Luke Skywalker, as obviously you can only have him really to be AI of some sort, you know, a really highly advanced version of Luke Skywalker. They've not said anything yet, the actual team at Mandalorian and Grogu, but I think to include him in the story would give the story a big jolt of excitement. It would also be in that time period still where he is around and he is needed by little Grogu, and you can include him without being forced, so to speak. Forced. I think it would be great. I would just love to see Luke Skywalker in it somehow in this particular movie. Mandalorian Grogu. That is my rough story idea. I think also, just to add to this a moment, I've got a feeling he will be in it. What length, I don't know. But it will be great to see Luke Skywalker appear in this particular movie, because that's when he was alive. And yeah, it would just make sense. Anyway, So that is my story idea of views. Let's get into reviews. Reviews is going to be something that is something coming up, which is, The Force Awakens. We've got the 10-year anniversary coming up. We are in the 10th anniversary, but, the actual anniversary is in December. I think it was December 18, from what I remember. But here are two collectible Kylo Ren figures. Force Awakens. This was the stock standard figure. But if you look at it, and then you look at this, the more premium figure, which has, I think, it has an armor, which really didn't appear in the actual movie. But I got the two because they're highly collectible. I got the two because it's Kylo Ren, and these are prized possessions. This is the more premium figure. Yeah, I paid in Australian maybe $25 for that. That's Australian. This one I would have paid about $18. But they're pretty much the same thing, what you get inside. One has a bit more armor that didn't really appear in the film, which I don't know what that would actually do. But essentially, they're the same thing. Kylo Ren, 10 out of 10. His two figures I got from the Force Awakens period. Great packaging as well. I love the Kylo Ren sort of card as well. It's fantastic. There you go. Look at that. That's what's behind it as well. What's behind it? So you got like figures coming up. You've got other figures coming up on both of them. It's fantastic. This is when Star Wars was great with the fans. Anyway, so that's a 10 out of 10. Let's get now into interviews. Interviews is technically orchestrated by a man named Michael from Werribee South. He loves it. He asks me so many questions in life, but he is becoming a stronger Star Wars fan. Anyway, let's go into the comments now. You can leave your comment of questions or in just a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you can, if you want. It's up to you. I'm here 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm going to be persistent at that. I, have been a bit neglectful years ago, but still kept the channel running, still kept it going, and I still am the Force always, no matter what, no matter how many viewers are out there. But anyway, let's get into these questions. So Michael from Werribee South asks, what specific choices did Anakin make that led to his downfall? Well, the specific choice essentially was he was about looking after his girlfriend, Padme. He was obsessed and in love where a Jedi could not love, was not allowed to love, and it was kept secret somehow. No one knew. Maybe him clouding everyone's thoughts. But the specific choices, there's more choice. It's all about keeping Padme alive. He was having dreams, nightmares that she would die at childbirth, and he was getting stressed out. And yeah, so the downfall. So what specific choices did Anakin make that led to his downfall? And it was all about really, the attachment to Padme, really, essentially, and joining the dark side for Anakin was about getting the tools of remedy to fix Padme. But he was manipulated so badly by Emperor Palpatine that he just fell to the dark side, and Anakin, as we knew, was no more. He became Darth Vader. He was just bent on saving her life, concerned for her, having a will of wanting her to live for, a long time or forever. And he just got caught in the web of a spider, and the spider was Emperor Palpatine. That's the answer to the question in a real long, abstract way, but that's the answer. So let's get into the next question. Did Anakin truly believe he was the chosen one? I think he did actually mention, I can't remember specifically, I think he did mention it. Obi-Wan definitely. Mace Windu definitely said, they spoke about the prophet. He was the chosen one. In fact, Obi-Wan said to technically Darth Vader, even though he was still Anakin in the Anakin look without the suit, and he said, "Anakin, you're the chosen one." And so he knew what was going on, but he technically was a part of the chosen one because, as we know in Return of the Jedi, which is a bit of a spoiler here, he was saved, and he saved the Jedi, and he destroyed the Sith technically at that point, much to a lot of debate because of story rewriting and stuff like that. But anyway, so really Anakin, I think he did believe he was the chosen one. I think he sort of knew he believed he was strong, very strong. Anyway, so the next question from Michael from Werby South is, was Anakin destined to become Darth Vader, or was it a series of choices? See, the word destined to be Darth Vader, I don't think he wanted to be Darth Vader. I think he had a lust for power, but I don't think he wanted to be Darth Vader. He became Darth Vader because it was a pledge to the Emperor of turning to the Sith, in which he got manipulated to the point of no return, sort of. But I don't think he was destined. I think it was just he turned to the dark side without knowing where he was headed as a final sort of evil way, just to save Padme, save her life. He loved her so much. So I don't think he was destined to become Darth Vader. He just became Darth Vader to sacrifice himself. Yes, so that's more of an opinionated question, to be honest. Now the next question, young or old Michael, maybe medium Michael, I don't know. Was Anakin? No, that was the last question. Would Anakin have been stronger if he hadn't lost his limbs? Well, that's a real, biological, I'd say, answer. If someone has limbs versus someone who hasn't got limbs, is going to be a bit more able to do things, stronger to do things, and things like that. Not to put anyone who doesn't have limbs down, but the having limbs or having any part of the body really enables that person to function properly. So that really is I think a biological or physical question, whatever you want to say. Would Anakin have been stronger if he hadn't lost his limbs? I'd say yes. So the next and final question from Michael from Werby South, was Obi-Wan a failure as a mentor? Well, he did say and state he had failed to Anakin. He'd failed his services to Anakin as a friend, as a Jedi, as a master. So, in Obi-Wan's opinion, yes. Maybe to other people's opinion, no. That is Star Wars characters. But I don't know if he was a failure, because he did teach Anakin lots of good things. The only thing I would say is the Jedi really did become an army unit rather than a peacekeeping unit during the episodes 1 to 3. And they sort of lost themselves. But they were essentially peacekeepers. Unfortunately became an army base from the incredible manipulation from Emperor Palpatine, or Palpatine, the lead up to Emperor Palpatine. So his power, this, Palpatine that turned into the Emperor, manipulation to cause wars around the universe, and also to have Anakin question himself, to turn him from the strongest Jedi to one of the strongest Sith, the strongest evil people, was incredible. Was Obi-Wan a failure as a mentor? I don't think failure. I think he just felt like he was a failure. I think his intention was good. That's the only way to answer that question. Anyway, that is the show for this time around. It is a new week, so I will be back in the days or day ahead. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.